It's a year since we suspended the league. We had to get that 2019-20 league season finished. That felt more like a sprint, and this season has been a long haul. You know, getting to this point, we can see the end of the season on the horizon. We're really looking forward to that moment. Hopefully, the fans back in the stadium. So, you know, it has been an incredible journey. But I think we can look back with some pride and say that we've made a big contribution. The second week in March, I was at the Leicester Villa game, the last match, as it turned out, that was live before the break. I remember travelling back from that match, feeling that we were under criticism, that we were under scrutiny now for continuing to play football. That night we had postponed the Arsenal-Man City game because the Arsenal squad had been exposed to the Olympiacos owners' COVID test. And the following day I spent most of the time on the phone with clubs talking about whether we should continue. My view was that we should, and we seemed to have a consensus that was the right thing to do. I think about 10 o'clock that night we put out a statement saying we were going to carry on, and with half an hour I'd had a call from two clubs, from Vinay at Arsenal and Bruce Buck at Chelsea, telling me that Mikel Arteta and Callum Hudson-Odoi had tested positive, and those were the first positive COVID tests in the Premier League cohort that we knew about, and that changed everything. It was pretty calm. I think it was realistic. I think, you know, at that point, I think the World Health Authority hadn't even called COVID a global pandemic at that point. So really people were learning about what the situation was, but the implications for the league were clear. As early as the first meeting, the temperature check was taken that the primary objective of the Premier League and the clubs would be to complete the season. And really that collective will, despite all of the pressures, the uncertainty, never really wavered throughout. Everything we did was building towards that singular objective of getting back playing, completing the season, and then working out what we did from there. Well, I think Project Restart felt like a sprint. You know, we played a lot of matches in a 5-week period after a long layoff. It was a challenge. This feels more like a marathon. The schedule we've put in front of the clubs and the players is pretty brutal. They're playing a full Premier League fixture list, European competition, the 2 cup competitions as well, all in a truncated period. It's a big challenge. Obviously, there's been really strong adherence to all the protocols, and I think that it's been a huge collective, collaborative effort on behalf of the Premier League and the clubs and the players and everyone involved and staff to get to this point. And it hasn't always been easy, and there's been bumps in the road we've had to navigate. Well, there have been very significant financial losses, not just in the Premier League, but throughout the football pyramid. Towards the end of this season, I think we'll get towards £2 billion lost since the start of the pandemic in matchday revenue and broadcast revenue. And obviously, we've kept the show on the road despite all of this. Clubs have continued to invest in competitive matchday squads, and also the Premier League has continued to make good all of its contributions to the rest of the pyramid and wider football. But I think the ramifications are, if there's ultimately less money coming into football, then there'll be less money going out in the short term. So it is a topic, and you will see for the rest of this season more anti-racism messages on players' shirts, and the continuation, I think, of taking the knee to the end of the season. Yes, and as I said, we've got to get from step 1 through step 4 of the government's roadmap. We've got to have a look at the national picture and also work with government to create the conditions to be able to make that happen. So as I said, a lot of things have got to happen at the right times to get there, but we believe it's an achievable goal.